Australia faced its worst bushfire season in the summer of 2019 to 2020. 80% of the population was blanketed by smoke and 33 people lost their lives. This was followed by unprecedented protests across the country, with thousands of young people protesting against Australia's climate change policies. Unfortunately, any momentum these protests may have created was halted by the COVID-19 pandemic. As we look to life after the pandemic, Woroni asks what role climate change policies will have in the recovery post-COVID-19. As the pandemic continues to sweep across the globe, many countries have entered a state of lockdown. With many people working from home and almost all international travel halted, Mark Howden from the Climate Change Institute at the ANU explains what effect this will have on the climate.
The greenhouse gas emissions across the globe will probably be something like 5 to 7% lower this year than they would otherwise have been. And that's not insignificant, that's still billions of tonnes, but it's nowhere near enough to turn around climate change. So without a real concerted effort and without leadership to establish policies that do something different, I think the real risk is that we'll simply just revert to what we were before.
Professor Sharon Friel is the director of the Menzies Centre for Health Governance and has researched the effects of these patterns on health outcomes.
So I've written about this idea of a consumptogenic system which relates climate change and inequality and health together. And the consequences of all of that are the non-communicable disease epidemic that we've had for many, many years globally, climate change and rising inequality. So I'd like us to think about that consumptogenic system to rebalance that. And we've got a real opportunity now as we're thinking about what does society look like going forward after COVID-19. Now is a chance to introduce that Green New Deal.
As lockdown restrictions begin to ease in Australia, many citizens are looking to life after COVID-19. How will Australia's economy recover, and can sustainable policies be implemented to protect the environment?
Is that we do have an opportunity here to move very strongly into a very renewable energy system and a very low greenhouse gas emission system as part of the coronavirus recovery plan. To use the recovery to essentially leapfrog into a new environment, a new industrial set of industrial relationships, and a new industrial policy setting, which actually encourages us to have much more sustainable industries in Australia, much more high-tech industries, much higher paying industries, much cleaner industries.
We'd love us to see going forward with the economic recovery focus and with the jobs focus, let's make sure we have good quality jobs, and let's make sure we have a decent living wage, and let's make sure we have a decent social protection floor, and that's going to go a long way for, that covers very significant numbers within the population. That'll keep people healthy and well. So
the pandemic has really revealed this technological gap that we have in Australia. How are you even meant to begin recovering or begin to access help when you don't have the technology to do that, particularly with the pandemic?
Chloe Harpley is an ANU student who started the Books for the Bush appeal, aimed at directly supporting small communities affected by the bushfires.
I felt kind of helpless, and I think it exacerbated a lot of those feelings that you have in relation to climate change, that disempowerment, that powerlessness, that the sense that things are out of our control.
The balance between local movements and nationwide changes is key to post-COVID recovery. The pandemic has demonstrated the importance of listening to expert advice to protect lives, but will this transfer to issues of climate change and environmental policies?
I'd like to make sure that there's a respect for all types of scientists, not just the the hard science, but the social sciences as well. And particularly as we move forward, we need to understand society. And that's what social sciences are all about.
So just simply because experts are involved doesn't mean we solve the uncertainty issues. It doesn't mean we don't have to use judgment in terms of identifying what to do and how to do it. But nevertheless, what I think this has done is it really has raised the credibility of expert and scientific advice into policy, and I think that's a good thing.
But in all honesty, we have a lot of work to do in bringing people together.